Hello and welcome back to Tuesday night, or rather Saturday afternoon Eternal, featuring a match between two of the game's top players, TheBoxer and Applechips. Applechips' deck we already saw last round, played by Prakalakin, which is four faction Todas, but Boxer bringing back a blast from the past,
Yeah, this
FTS
is one
Vox.
we have not seen in a while with some interesting changes, but this is one that, the Voxer was named after the boxer, right?
Mm-hmm.
This will be interesting. So what's your take on this? What are what's the general gist of the deck, and what are a few of the key changes that you see?
So the general gist of the deck is it is an FTS sacrifice deck. This is the FTS Destruction's central theme, really, in that you want to play lots of units that you sacrifice with Vox, Nurturing Sadist, or Combust, or Devour, and use that. And because so many of these units are corrupted, they leave behind a shade, which is further fuel for sacrifice effects. And as these nightmares go into the void, Vox Nurturing Sadist actually increases their stats over the course of the game, leading to possibly very, very large nightmares thanks to Vox's ability. And then cards like Kindling Carver and Devour keep the engine running. This is using a Crack the Earth market with cards like Marsh Dragon that turns into an absolute brick wall late game, and Oblivion Spike, which just smashes control decks in one or two hits. The other cards rounding things out are Cloud Scraper to deal with individual flyers for a large tempo gain, and of course, End of an Era, which wipes out other go wide, efficient card, play relics, Dino Nest types of decks. And then, of course, wherever you play Crack of the Earth, you're going to play Arc of Soul, also supported by cultists such as Kato Arena Herald, and Two-Face, and even Vox himself.
Yep. Well, that's not too different than the old stuff. There are a couple new cards, End of the Air and Cloud Scraper in the market, but some of the really interesting new stuff, we have Rat King as, one of the great sacrifice cards that have come out recently. Vikram to steal their stuff and then sacrifice them, get a nice little combo going there. Only the Beginning is a spicy one. I don't think we've seen this really played in much. But what do you think about Only the Beginning in this type of deck?
So, if three of your units died this turn, bring them all back. This feels like a fairly situational card, but because it has Inscribed, worst comes to worst, if it's looking like a clunker, just, hey, play it as the power for the turn, and then go about your day. And then, of course, you have Dova the Fearmonger. I forget exactly what it does, but essentially it's a card advantage engine. It's a 5/5 for 5, and the text says, when you sacrifice a unit, draw a card as pledge, so tricolor pledge unit, and then Mastery 10, if this swings twice and survives, play Possessed by
Possessed by Horrors. That is a cursed relic, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
those dragons that we saw in the feature match around 1 that were trying to get haunting streams. I believe Possessed by Horrors will give you one of those every turn. So in a deck like this, where you're sacrificing stuff and filling up your graveyard, that's a pretty scary endgame. Probably not the main point here, right? You want to have your engine go and draw a bunch of cards, and this deck can probably be done in itself, but it would be pretty spicy to see that happen.
Right. It's just another draw engine. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, with that looked at, let's get down to the action. We have Applechips in the front seat here. Let's make sure our cams are working for them. Yeah, we have our mole cam up, and we should have the hand cam after that. What do you think about these two hands?
So in Applechips' hand, we have so we have two vows that can get, both of them can get two factions that share nothing in common, but they are not formal duels. And in Boxer's hand, we have 2 power with no card draw. I do not like Boxer's hand. Similarly, with Applechips, I can see him keeping this because of Praxis Vow going for the time sigil for a calibrate, hoping to find a third power. That doesn't intersect on anything the Felm Vow will get.
Yeah.
So with Chip's hand, I think I keep. With Boxer's hand, I think I ship.
Well, let's get them started and see how that prediction pans out.
Okay. Still waiting on
That's
Mulligans.
Here we go.
So Chips is actually going to send it back, and I think his reward for it gets all four factions here. If the Diplomatic Seal is used for Primal, the Stonescar Vow is used for Fire, and then the Time and Shadow sigils are just there. 2 displays of knowledge. As far as what this deck wants to do, I don't think you could ask for more, really.
Yep. You're playing against another deck that, while it can beat down, it's also trying to do its own combo thing and sit there and generate advantage. So usually those types of decks, you have time to set up. You have the package, you have your tutors to grab your key cards. Display of Knowledge can grab any relic from your deck. And you have perfect influence for everything.
So I have to imagine this goes after... Yeah, there's the cheering section. And, of course, the Azurite Prictus as the draw for this turn, so immediately the combo comes out.
It's a bit unfortunate that Applechips had to play the Vow in order to get that fire influence, because otherwise could play the Time Sigil, save that Vow for next turn, and got a free trigger. Discarding a card from that would have given a free Tota and got the engine rolling.
Right. But in this instance, out comes the Pitfall Trap, cleans up the Two-Face. Out comes the Kindling Carver, which will allow Applechips to draw and discard a card, and the discarded card will create a Tota.
It sacrifices, which creates a new Tota, which lets you draw and discard, and it's this is how it works.
Right. So Applechips has the engine going, essentially.
A little short on power, possibly, to get things done this turn. You do have, with the cheering section, that once per turn ability where you can sacrifice Totas to get extra power, which will make more Totas. But you still have to have something to do. That Shrine to Carve It really wants to come out to deal some damage. This Toma Horrors is pretty spicy. All that damage you deal will make them discard, which also triggers your cheering section to make more Totas. So the hard thing will be if Applechips can't get this going this turn, which it looks like it's working. Those Rat Kings would
So yeah, one thing that is going to be problematic for Applechips here is that the Rat Kings can just keep the Kindling Carvers off the board with their ability here, and we see the Rat King.
Did Applechips just run out of? Yeah, I guess ran out of power and things to do. Okay, I thought there was more to do. I was just surprised by that sudden shift to the Boxer in that A space out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, Applechips just did just about everything his deck allowed him to do that turn. Had a pretty good turn of spinning the wheels, so to speak. But right now, against Rat King, it does feel like Kindling Carver's time is, kind of limited. But there's the Shrine to Carver, Carve It coming out. Shrine to Carver, same thing.
Play this crack there to get an extra token before swinging.
That was a valid line of play. Applechips decide not to take it. And now Boxer actually does not play Shrine to Carver in his 80. So, once your opponent has the whole engine going and the Shrine to Carver up and running, it's kind of rough beats to be on the back foot. And yeah, Boxer just scoops it up.
Yep. It's hard to come back from that active Shrine to Carve It. It was a race, but we saw the Boxer A space and just knew, I don't have time to mess around, and it just unfortunately did not play out.
Yeah, because no matter how many of the Todas you kill, every time you kill a Toda, the Azurite Princess is going to discard cards, which creates more Todas, and then the cheering section can sacrifice Todas to trigger the Shrine of Carver. So, yeah. You really need Relic interaction to actually deal with this Todas deck. And Boxer just couldn't find the Crack the Earth for the end of an era to really disrupt things.
We're just waiting for those players to get back in game, and we will get right back down to the action. One moment, folks. Here we go.
So Chips looking at a 3-power hand, which has all his influence. Mm-hmm. 2 of them are paintings. So and the cheering section in hand, about as ideal a hand as he can possibly have. And oh my goodness, turn
Absolutely.
1 Rat Cage, turn 2 Dinosaur Nest, 3 power in hand, needs a 4th for the cheering section and a Crack the Earth. You cannot ask for better if you're Applechips. This is a snap.
How cheeky would you have to be to play the Crack the Earth turn 1 and ship one of these relics or something just to get that power and ramp? Is that going too far?
I think it's gone too far because a turn 1 Rat Cage is just chef's kiss.
Yeah, the Rat Cage into Dinosaur Nest is something I had been having fun with in just your standard Primal Time Shadow Rats. That is a fun combination, at least on the side that's playing it, right? It's probably not something you want to see on the receiving end too often.
Yeah, I mean,
I believe they're waiting for
balance
us.
factor about the balance factor about relics is they're not supposed to affect the board, but when they're cheap and they affect the board, oof, that's pushing the limits of what relics are supposed to do, and Applechips just has all of the nonsense in spades here. Okay, so Applechips actually going with your line, declines the turn 1 Rat Cage.
I think if you're trying to just race, right, because the Boxer has his own thing that he's going to be setting up, and you need to get your combo out for they're all set up on the other side. So this is cheeky though with attacking into the 1/1. Yep.
Yeah, Boxer knows exactly what's up. Boxer has played with Crack the Earth, and Boxer is playing with Crack the Earth. So you never, ever, ever let your opponent get the Crack the Earth out of the market if you can help it. Not the Crack the Earth, the Arc of Soul. Sorry. So, of course, turn 2 Dinosaur Nest, turn 3 Killer, into turn 3 second Dinosaur Nest, and Applechips is just on the, hey, I'm going to make a bunch of dinosaurs, I'm going to buff them up once the Dinosaur Nests flip into Sheltered Valleys, and beat you down. Bloodwolf going to come out on Boxer's end, get a cheeky Kraken with a Kato, and Applechips just, hey, 2 killer units now. I wonder if one of them is just going to eat this Toda because why not? Of course.
Yep. With both these decks, there's a lot of rinky units, but they're your resources. That's the engine. You turn small units into cards, into power with the Rat King, into killing off your opponent's units. So it's really comes down to every one of these cards will matter.
Oh, definitely. In Sacrifice Mirrors, barring a Shrine to Carver advantage, these are going to be very, very grindy matches, and this looks like we're going to be in for a long while, since both these decks, they have no evasion, they have no real combat skills to speak of that makes blocking any of the units harder. It's just, I smack you, you smack me.
The I mean, Applechips has these dinos though. They're gonna get big pretty soon. It's interesting, right? Boxer has that only the beginning. Is that a
Devour.
is
That's
that
only.
a fast spell or a slow spell? Only the beginning.
I am not sure. I'm not too familiar with the card.
Looks
I
like it's a
think
fast spell.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. For 4 power, it's there's anti-sweeper technology
Yep.
built in.
So that could make combat math interesting, just having those available, right? You can trade your whole board in combat and then just bring most of it back if it comes to it. Applechips, unfortunately, getting stuck on power. That's like the only thing really missing from popping off here.
Okay, so the beginning actually brought back a Blood Wolf, which shows I don't really know what the card does. So I
Only the
forget.
beginning or Blood Wolf?
Only the beginning. Play 3 units from your play 3 units from your void that died this turn, rather than play all the cards from your void that died this turn if 3 or more units died.
Yep.
So misremembered what the card actually did, but nevertheless, used to all right effect by Boxer this on the turn, and then Devour comes out, eats the Kato Shade, and we're kind of back to a holding pattern, but Applechips has 3/5/5s thanks to the 2 Sheltered Valleys. One's gonna crack in, and Boxer kind of out of options in terms of any real impactful plays here. Can deploy a Kato and use the Rat King once to shrink one of these 5/5s, but I'm not really sure what that does. Okay, I see what Boxer's going for. Just swinging in, and then going to play another only the beginning. So here's another only the beginning. It's going to bring back the Rat King. It's going to bring back the Blood Wolf. It's going to bring back a Dirty Rat. And the Rat King is going to create 2 more Dirty Rats. And sacrifice one of them. Kill off this 4/4 that was previously a 5/5. Play this Kato. And pass the turn.
Yep. All of a sudden, Applechips have these giant units, but there's a lot of pressure on the other side. Applechips isn't gaining health anytime soon. The Boxer's presenting a giant board. All these little units may just do the job to close the game.
I mean, ultimately, if the Blood Wolf and Rat King swing in, the 2 5/5s are going to block them. Applechips is going to take 3, but yeah, this being stuck on 3 is really problematic. Applechips can't get to the 2 cheering sections, 3 cheering sections in his hand, or the Shrine of Carver. And at some point, as I've said before, Throne isn't an infinitely fast format. Eventually, you do run out of time.
Now, these 2 units will die, which means that when Kato sacrifices itself, I believe that counts as the final unit to make an 8/8.
Ooh, the resolution doesn't allow me to see how many units are in Boxer's Void on that Kato.
There were 9 going into this attack, so there are 11 now, and Kato makes 12.
Yeah, there's the Gladiator. So that is going to have to be chump blocked every turn. And another 1/1's coming down. Oh, okay. Applechips hits 4th power. I don't think it's going to be enough.
Too late. You don't have the combo set up. Applechips, I believe, all the way back on turn 1, knew that. I think that's what that market play was. And if the Boxer did not have that Carver on turn 1 to block the token, this could have looked like a completely different game. Applechips would have hit 4th power and had smooth sailing.
Oh wow! And yeah, the top decked Vox off the top for the Voxer it might just come down. Sacrifice 2 of these rats. Or
a rat and the other one and get your shade back, which is going to be huge.
Right. 5/6 shade. There's the sacrifice. This 5/5 has to chump block. Applechips takes 2, comes down to 2. is staring down,
Yeah.
4 different sources of lethal on an empty board, 4 power. I don't think there's an Azurite Prixis in the void, and even if there were, yeah, I think it's going to be all she wrote. Applechips just stuck on power a little too long this game.
Absolutely. That's the end of that game. I'm sorry, Ilya. You're gonna have to remind me who won round 1. I forgot to track that.
So yeah, that was Applechips winning game 1 with Shrine to Carve It, and then Boxer coming back in game 2 owing to Applechips'
Perfect. So we
power
get to the full 3-round match in this exciting game. Let's see. Have them jump in right away. We've been watching from Applechips' side this whole time. So let's jump in on the Boxer.
Okay.
And as soon as they're ready, we'll get right back in. I actually, sorry about that. I believe we do not have Boxer friended on the secondary accounts. We will hop over the same configuration.
Okay.
Okay. See the mulcam here, which is not. Oh, the Boxer already made mulligan decisions, so I'll let Applechips know that they are good to go.
Okay.
Okay. Applechips again has that crack the earth play. Unless there's a turn 1 unit on the other side, you get to ramp. You have the display to fetch a thing. You don't have all your tools though, like you did last time. You can fetch 1 key card and then hope this Torgoth
This is an
there.
unplayable hand for Applechips. There's no time influence.
You don't. Y'all, good call. Can't even play it. So Applechips doing the mulligan. Did not.
And
see...
another unplayable hand. No time or primal influence. Chips is going to have to take a 6.
Looks like has the hand.
And a third almost unplayable hand. Oh, no, this hand can play just the Calibrate, no primal or shadow influence. This Calibrate has to hit influence here.
Well, that lucky top deck Dino Nest, that gives something to do next turn, even if you.
That's true. And a diplomatic seal. Applechips bailed out.
Still missing primal influence, but I think you're okay with not playing this Torgoth Swears for a little while, right?
Well, it depends which direction Applechips decides to take this diplomatic seal, whether it's primal or shadow. But in the meantime, Voxer is going to crack in with the Crack the Earth, and Chips top decks a second Diplo seal, but because of the duel coming down in turn 1, this Diplo seal is going to be unable to produce any influence. Chips still needs to find shadow influence at some point. Meanwhile, Boxer already has the End of the Era, but luckily for Applechips, he top decks the Feln Painting, all influence online for Applechips.
So Applechips is going to get set up, but I bet Applechips knows the End of an Era is coming. How do you play around that?
Honestly, with Applechips' deck, you don't. It's you just have to bite the bullet that's going to hit you once, and how do you play the game after that is the question.
You have to, I guess, hope that you can put on enough pressure with a few relics. You eat that End of the Era and still have nothing to do afterwards that you can come back. But
and still have enough after the end of an era. But Boxer being very patient here. So Shrine to Carver coming down for Applechips.
At least with the Shrine, those are safe from End of the Era. That card is only cost 3 or less. You'll lose all your units. You lose your Dino Nest. But not everything. You lose your Rat Cage. It's most things, but
right. The nerf to Shrine to Carver from 3 to 4 power winds up being a buff in this case.
I still miss 3-cost Shrine to Carve It though. That card was my jam.
Okay, out comes End of an Era. And
Okay.
Dova is going to be able to crack in. We're going to see Dova's actual mastery fire off.
I know, we did not think it would happen. We would need what? We would have needed to see a Rat Cage plus a Combust to stop that.
Right. So, out comes a Dirty Rat from the Rat Cage. Unfortunately, Dirty Rats cannot block.
Okay, now we get to see what this actually does. The end of the Cursed player's turn plays 0/1 Skeletal Dragon. So that is the unit from that Haunting Scream deck.
Mm-hmm. The question is, how fat are the units in Boxer's Void?
Oh, we'll see that once they start coming out, but I am sure they are fat enough.
They are not.
It doesn't take much when you're getting one every turn, right? And they're only going to get bigger. You start with 3. You're going to be trading off units and sacrificing things pretty soon. The Boxer's in pretty good shape.
So, a Dirty Rat comes in. Interesting that Boxer chose not to block it. And yeah, this Possessed by Horror is just going to play 2/1 little skeletal dragons. Nice dragons. 2/1 big scary dragons. But
my misunderstanding with the skeletal dragon, I thought it was equal to the units in your void, not the highest strength.
No, it's highest strength, which is why that the Dona Sirius or that
the
play
12/12s. That's why that mattered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only unit that mattered.
I was trying to count units that whole time, so apologies to the viewers if you were really confused what I was talking about.
So in comes more attacks from Boxer, and yeah, that's just going to get there. Boxer's going to get there with beats. No sacrifice engine, just play units, attack you, smack. That's it.